looking good. I see some cute costumes out there. Okay. Again, if you just came in, welcome to our Ladies Night Costume Party. All right, so we are going to get started. Hopefully you've gotten your drinks and your cupcakes and your popcorn. If not, feel free to go ahead and get that as well. We're going to get started. So if you haven't already seen in the front, we have at the front table, we have a box and there's sheets of paper and there's a pen there. If you have any questions or topics that you would like to ask us while we're up here, we will have our helpful assistant, Kristen Creighton, bring up the question box in a few minutes, and we will answer some of those questions. But as we're talking, if you have questions, go ahead and write your questions up there. Don't put your name on it, it's anonymous. So we are going to get started. As some of you know from my Max Out Girl conference, this is a guest that I have frequently on, Ty Creighton. She is a licensed therapist, and so I love bringing her on because, you know, with my podcast and the different conferences and women's events that we do, it's so important, I think, to have girl chat, girl talk. Anybody else feel the same way about girl chat, girl talk? You always need somebody to talk to get it off your chest. And I think it's so important for us to talk about certain topics and certain issues. So today we are having a conversation. It is how to get over the ghost of your past, a conversation about trauma. So of course that is a loaded topic. You cannot get through that, right, in 45 minutes, but we're just going to touch it just a little bit. And if you guys want to share, you guys again want to ask questions, we would love to do so. And then after that, we are going to wind down and have a girl dance party. Woo, woo, woo. Okay, so we're going to bring the heavy out, then we're going to have the light after that, okay? All right, so let's get down to it. First and foremost, I feel like the word trauma can be thrown around a lot, right? Or mental health, just a lot of these topics right now, and I know they're two different things, but what is trauma? Can you speak to trauma, or from your perspective, could you just speak on that a little bit?
So, yes, textbook definition would say that trauma is any disturbing or distressing event. And so that is why I say often there's levels to trauma, and what is considered traumatic for one individual, another person may say, oh, it didn't impact me that way, or that wouldn't be traumatic for me.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So is it true that we all in some way, shape, or form maybe have had some traumatic experiences? Like, for example, if I say, I can't really think of much that I've been through that was just so traumatic, that almost took me out. I don't think I've had any trauma in my life. Could that be a true statement, or not necessarily?
I would say not necessarily, because I feel like if you're breathing and you are, even babies actually have sometimes, situations that may be traumatic for them. You have had some type of disturbing or distressing event or situation. Maybe the way a person responds to it, they may not even realize it, but something disturbing or distressing, yeah. Bad news, just life, like people say, life be lifing. So you've had a disturbing or distressing event.
So how do you deal with it? So pretty much what you're saying is something that you may go through, to me, might be like, whatever, that's not a big deal. That wasn't traumatic. I went through that and I'm good. Versus, something a little bit deeper. I'm like, man, that was tough. That was hard. Both situations, how can you heal, or how can you move forward? Like, let's talk about relationships. Let's just say if I'm happily married now, but I've been through a couple of traumatic relationships. So let's say, how do you move forward in those situations? Let's say it could be so many different things. So maybe you were cheated on, maybe you were hurt deeply, maybe it could be so many things. You were controlled, they manipulated you. How can you move on from any type of trauma? Maybe someone was raped, maybe someone, their parents may have always told them, you're dumb, you're stupid, you'll never be anything. How can you deal with some of these traumatic experiences that you may have experienced in life? I know that's a loaded question, but
that's a very loaded question.
So let's go back to the relationships. Let's talk about me. If I've had a traumatic experience in a relationship where I've been cheated on or really hurt, how can I heal? How can I move forward to having a healthy relationship or even a healthy marriage?
So I would say you would have to acknowledge what took place, right? Acknowledging the fact that it impacted you in whichever way that it did. I always like to encourage, and again, so I'm a licensed clinician. There are tons of other licensed clinicians, and they may have a different approach. My approach is that people need to actually lean into the feelings. Not to stay there, but to say, oh, yeah, that happened, but I don't feel that, and you really do. It's like, just be honest, face yourself, look at yourself in the mirror, acknowledge that, say, okay, this did happen to me, this made me feel this way, and this is how it is impacting me. Mm-hmm. And then there's all types of techniques and interventions that, you know, people can undergo. Not all, of course, I am a big advocate for therapy, but it doesn't, you know, people seek counsel, like spiritual counseling. When we talked before at the conference, we talked about people of faith, right? You have prayer, you have scripture, you have meditating on the word. And you know, some people, they work out, other people try yoga, they do walks. It really just depends on what would actually speak to that person, because everybody is different. But you definitely have to, I would say, you have to acknowledge it, be honest that it happened. Mm-hmm. And then if you want to be on that path to healing, it's a process. Mm-hmm. Of course, I do believe in miracles. Most times you have to do the work, though, to get on the other side of the trauma.
No, I think that's good when you said kind of lean into the feelings, like acknowledge it. Because I could say maybe in the past I've been, would you call it, I don't know if this is the correct terminology for it, but a stuffer. Like, things will happen, I'm like, I'm okay. Things will happen, I'm good. Things will happen, oh, I'm good, I'm a strong woman. Things will happen, and then till you're not good and you blow up, and it's just like, wait, I'm kind of crazy right now. What happened? Like, I thought I was good, but then it's like, it's this build up, and then you feel ashamed because it's like, wait, I thought I was a strong woman. I thought I was handling this, you know, I thought. So could that be like stuffing it in, thinking that you have to be strong, that you can't be vulnerable to your feelings? So I do like that you said lean into the feelings, but don't stay there. Like, right. You don't have to stay in a depressed state or, you know, like, oh my gosh, like I can't move on with life. But be honest where you are. Right. But anybody else been like a stuffer, or feel like I'm a strong woman, and you maybe in a time in your life you didn't want to deal with the fact that you were really hurt? By a show of hands, anybody been there before? Oh shoot, I ain't by myself. Okay, I feel better. Yeah, because I had this, I'm a strong woman, and I think women are strong, and I think we are strong, but I think that you can be strong and be vulnerable. You can be strong and be honest with your feelings. You can be strong and say, no, that did hurt me. No, that was wrong. No, I do want to cry, because I couldn't cry. I had a problem with crying. I cry now a lot. But at first, you know, I couldn't cry. But now I'm just like, okay, is that a part of healing? Being able to say, okay, I'm going to let the tears flow. I'm going to just like acknowledge I'm in pain and just go through the process.
Yes, I always say that it takes strength, actually, to be vulnerable. Most people think that it's weakness, like, oh, you're weak, you can't take anything. If I had $5 for every client that talked about being vulnerable in my presence, I would be on my private jet somewhere, like just chilling, because, like, for real, they say being able to unpack, being able to be vulnerable, and not be judged, and just cry if they're needed, you know, if they need to. Some people, it is an expression, because, okay, so I would say some people express anger, but really when you get to the root of that, it's actually hurt. Fear and hurt. Yeah. Well, it's a layer under. So yes, hurt is the foundation. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so even digging to get to that part, with trauma, it affects people. It's a whole thing. Like, it's a whole thing. Like, mm-hmm. A lot of research out there, but your mind and your body, they're connected in that way. So that when you go through trauma, you may even have certain behaviors that you are really like, that's just been me. I don't even really know. But if you actually do the work and unpack, if it's unhealthy, I'm talking like unhealthy or toxic, it could be most likely traced back to something that was traumatic.
So then once you've acknowledged it, say, you know, you're honest with yourself, then what? You know, you're hurt, you're sad, you're angry, you've been through something wrong, you know it was wrong. What are some of those next steps that a person can take? Like, they're acknowledging, I'm in pain, they're crying, or maybe they're not crying. I feel like everybody has different ways of expressing their hurt. Like you said, they might be angry. How can they unpack all of that? Like, what could be some next steps for them?
So that's, if any of you all have heard me before, that's when we go to the cognitive behavioral, my favorite, I would say, intervention right now. And that's really thinking about what you're thinking about, starting in your mind and asking the questions about, okay, the things are you thinking, is it true? Is it helpful? And is it kind? And then reframing those thoughts with, some people reframe it with literally like words to a song. Some people reframe it with scripture. Some people reframe it with positive affirmations. And so it's really turning down the soundtrack of your life, whatever that may be. Some people have a negative one, some people have a positive one. And it's really reframing those thoughts, starting there. I think you absolutely will need to, it depends on the level, I guess. But I would say having something else to kind of undergird or bolster that. So if it's reading, if it's a podcast, if it is therapy, if some people actually find clarity and healing in a group of, with girlfriends. I always say you want to just make sure that you're honest, you're able to be honest, and then that feedback is honest as well.
Gotcha. That's awesome. So basically you're saying acknowledge the pain or acknowledge where you are and then start the process of healing, which can look different for different people. It could be going to therapy, it can be spiritual counseling, it could be all of the above.
It could be.
Starting a new workout regimen.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know about any of you guys, but like when I came out of that relationship, I busied myself. Like, I had to just busy myself to kind of keep my mind kind of not from being depressed in a way. You know what I mean? Like, of course, I'm a woman of faith, so of course there was prayer, crying out to God, and those things were very important and essential to my healing. But also, I had to take fitness classes. I was already working out, but like more dance classes, fitness classes, hanging out with girlfriends, planning girls' dates out, like just getting moving, with life and not staying. I had my time of crying, but not staying depressed, right? Not staying alone, not staying just in that place. I had my moment, but I was like, okay, don't stay here. You got to get to moving. You got to get to life. And it doesn't heal everything right away, right? But sometimes it just helps you to get moving with life and to get out of that depressed stage, to get out of that kind of like woe is me kind of a stage. And that kind of helped me move forward. So go ahead, you want to add something?
I was going to say, most times it is partnering with another person or some type of community. We were built for community. So if, like you were mentioning, if you were doing things so you wouldn't sink into a depression or further into depression, that again is where a person would need to be honest and vulnerable to say, I am feeling this way, I am feeling depressed, or I don't know if I'm depressed, but this is what I'm feeling and thinking. Being able to be honest about that and have someone to turn to talk it through.
So what if with this traumatic experience usually it involves someone else? How important is forgiveness in the process? Because do you feel like that helps the healing process? And what if it's something that's so horrendous that you feel like you cannot forgive that person?
So yes, forgiveness is a huge part of the process. Depending on the magnitude of it, it may not happen as soon as a person would think that it would or that they would like. That in and of itself may be a process depending on what they went through and how it impacted them. Because also, depending on the level, even just some discussions I found, like I know the reason why a person may be, seeing me for therapy, then there may be a trigger. Well, I can't just jump right into that, right? If they're not ready. And so, yes, to answer your question, I do believe that is a huge part. Again, it looks different. It doesn't mean that, you forgive and whoever that person was, that was, if they violated you in any way, even if it was just betrayal, because it doesn't always have to be the,
sexual.
Yeah, sexual molestation and things like that, or incest or whatever. But you do have to get to that point where you are able to forgive for yourself. That person needs to be forgiven, but to forgive for yourself and to be able to move past that. That is a part of the healing process.
Yeah. No, I love that. I do think that forgiveness is so important. And Nikki, I know you talked about that at our conference, and that was so powerful because sometimes, like when I talk to women, a lot of times they're like, but you don't know what they did to me. And it's like, no, I'm not justifying what they did. What they did was wrong, and that doesn't let them off the hook. But really, healing's for you. Mm-hmm. It frees you up internally, your mind, your spirit, your heart, to live, to love, to move forward. They may not ever know you forgave them. They may not care, and they may say, I don't need your forgiveness. But forget them. It's about your healing. It's about your future, your life, right? Your wholeness. And again, if you want to take the high road like I said, we're women of faith, like the person who hurt me, I definitely prayed for that person. And, because sometimes people don't even know they're doing wrong. And sometimes they're doing wrong because that's all they know. They've been hurt. They always say, hurt people. And sometimes they may not even know how deeply they hurt you by what they're doing to you or what they have done to you. And so for me, it's been very freeing to forgive, but also what I've realized from my life, just because I forgave somebody doesn't mean I have to give them that place back in my life, right? Like, it could have been a friend or a family member, or, well, if it's an ex, of course, they're exed out, right? But if it's a friend or family member, sometimes you still can't give them that close position that they had in your life like they had. And I think sometimes, like, I would feel like, well, maybe I didn't forgive them because now I don't want to hang around them. No, like, they violated you, and that's not a person you should have in your life. You forgive them. Maybe you told them you forgive them, but that doesn't mean that you have to continually open yourself up to continue getting hurt by them, Mm-hmm. That's just using wisdom, I feel like. So, yeah, I think you want to add.
I was going to say that I believe that is setting boundaries. We talked about that at the last time we talked a little bit too. That setting boundaries for yourself to keep yourself in a space where you're like, okay, this is my healthy place. And, not to say that that person is unhealthy, but maybe that dynamic is. And so it's like, if you forgive that person and you're like, okay, but you stay over there. I love you, but over there. You stay there and I'm over here. That's setting a boundary for yourself and then being consistent with that boundary and keeping that boundary is important.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that you talked about setting boundaries, because I don't know about any of you guys. I don't now, but I struggled with setting boundaries. Like, I would feel guilty for setting boundaries. Like, oh, man, I'm saying no, or, oh, man, what are they going to think? Or, oh, man, like, I'm going to disappoint them. And I'm like, why am I feeling guilty for living my life, for having wholeness, for having a peace of mind? Why am I feeling guilty for that? That's letting someone else control your life, control your peace. And my husband helps me a lot with that, and he just was flat out blank. He was like, girl, you are a grown woman with a whole husband and a whole life. Like, you don't have to explain anything to anybody. And even if you don't have a husband or whatever, you're a grown woman, or even if you're a young girl, you're a young girl. Like, you can set those boundaries for your peace, for your life, like for your safety, for whatever it is. And I have to get over that. And that was kind of like a stronghold on me. And for me, it kind of coupled with people pleasing. Yeah, like, what are they going to think about me? Because I said no. And then I started to see who are my real friends, because every time I said yes, you were okay, we were cool. The one time I had to say no about something, you flip out on me, you're not a real friend. I mean, because you're used to, it's conditional, based on condition. Like, if I say yes to you, or if I do everything you want me to do, then we're good. Somebody done came in here looking like grandma. They cracking me up. Look at this. Hey, girl. Hey. Hey, girl. She done broke my serious moment. I had to give a shout out. Hey, girl. Hey. You cute. You cute. Yes. Look, we're back to setting boundaries. Yes, but it is. I don't know. Ladies, can any of you identify with that at a point in your life where you felt guilty for saying no or setting boundaries? By show of hands, let me see. Yeah. What helped you get over that? Does anybody want to share? You don't have to if you don't feel comfortable. But what helped you? Did you just realize, like, enough is enough? Go ahead.
I'm currently going through it right now.
Come up here. Let me get the mic. Give her a hand. Everybody give a clap up, clap up, clap up. Woo, you're looking cute. Okay, let everybody know. What's your name? What's your name?
Teresa.
Oh, cute. Say it again.
Teresa.
Oh, shoot. Okay. All right. Now tell me about your costume. What are you dressed as?
Steampunk.
I love that. One of my friends loves steampunk. It's really cute. Okay. I will let you get to your explanation. Go ahead.
So for me, I'm going through it right now.
Okay.
So my enough was enough when I had been trying for a year to just resolve with my husband. And all I've been getting was blame shifting, silent treatment, with a little bit of, let's work it out, back to blame shifting and silence, like the whole cycle and everything. So then for me, what did it for me was this, when that year hit of our separation, and I'm like, so what's it now?
Yeah.
And I got silent treatment. And so my enough was like, why am I feeling guilty when I've done everything I could? And so I just filed. And so,
Yeah.
that's where I'm at right now.
Okay. Woo woo. Thank you so much for sharing. That takes courage. Give her a bigger hand, guys. Come on. That takes courage. That takes a lot of courage. Yeah. And we'll definitely be praying for you in your transition for sure. Yeah. Did you want to add to that? No. Okay.
Not so much.
No. I love that. Just being able to learn to say enough is enough, or just learning yourself, I guess, your boundaries. Because I know I've been through a relationship where enough was enough. I kept letting them get an inch. They took a mile. You kept going back and forth. Or, oh, maybe this or that. And after a while, I started feeling like, okay, I'm not valuable. I'm diminishing my value. Like, I'm not even seeing myself as worthy. I'm not even seeing myself as who God created me to be, that I don't have to be in something like this, that I'm worth so much more. And that's on, like a romantic relationship level. And that's really what I do talk a lot, like to women. And maxing out their potential in every area of their life. But as far as like with the relationship thing, like I really had to realize that no, like God has purpose for me. He loves me. I don't have to settle for less than God's best for my life. And sometimes I was just looking for love, and I'm like, I'm already loved. So why am I looking for love in all the wrong places? I'm already valuable. I'm already loved. I don't have to be a wife, because that was my biggest thing. Like, okay, after 30s, like wanting to be married and all those things. And this has nothing kind of do with trauma, but I always sometimes share a little bit of my testimony since you're talking about relationships. And I had to get to the point where I just trust God. Just surrender to him completely, wholly in whatever situation that is. And I think with relationships, whether you're single, whether you're married, whether you're divorced, or whether you're dealing with that, God has a remedy for you. He has an answer for whatever season, whatever situation that you're in. And that's just so powerful. So that's just my little, side note on that. So definitely we'll be praying for your strength, and that God, just equips you, heals you. And if you desire marriage, again, one day, he has that for you. If you don't, he has that for you too. A beautiful life as a beautiful single woman. So yes, stay encouraged. Yep. So anybody else have an example? Yes, come on, Nikki. I can't give you the mic, Nikki. You like to, no, we can't hear you. I'll just snatch the mic from you when you go over 20 minutes. No. She's cracking up. Come this way over here. Right. She know I love her. I love Nikki.
I'll keep it under 20 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
You said, how do you get over the feeling of maybe guilt?
Yes.
And I think when you weigh the benefits against the cost, and
that's
so
good.
when it's healthy, when you realize this is good for either me, it's going to make me healthier, or it's going to make that person healthier. Like, I can say no to you because I know it's going to benefit you, and this feeling of uncomfortability, guilt, maybe, it's better to feel this because the benefit in the end and what's going to happen for you or your growth or whatever, or for me, like the health I'm going to experience because I said no to these, and like what happened with you, and you said you probably learned because you were feeling unvaluable, unworthy, and things like that, and so it's like you come out of it feeling valuable and worthy, and so when you weigh the benefits and the cost, I think is a big way to get over the feelings of discomfort.
Yeah, that's good.
That's good.
Thank you. That's good. Give her a hand. That's awesome. Yeah, that was amazing, Nikki. Thank you. No, you're right. When you realize, no, this is healthy for me, right? This is helpful to me. And I think too, when you get tired of allowing people to allow you, I want to say this correctly, to do things that's harming you. Does that kind of make sense? Like you're constantly opening the door for them to just do what they want to do. And then are you living your best life? Are you living God's purpose for your life? Are you healthy? Are you whole? No, because you're people pleasing. You're feeling guilty. And so I think that's so important. And for me, I'm going to be honest, it still is a balance, because you know how it's almost like, I don't care what nobody think. But then on the other end, it's like, well, you kind of do a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like you get that. And that's okay, because I don't think you should be completely like, screw everybody. I don't care what nobody thinks about me, type of a thing. But I think there is a healthy place to get to where you can say, I don't care what you think about me. You know what I mean? I think there is a healthy place. And I think I took a stand in that relationship. And when I said no, it was a very simple thing. The retaliation and the response on their end was so big that I realized this is an unhealthy thing that we got going here. This is very unhealthy. And I had to make a choice, because it was a big blowout, really big thing. And I had to just say, okay, yeah, this relationship is not what I thought it was. this is a controlling relationship. This is a if I do what you tell me when you tell me to do it type of a relationship. And like you said, I quickly saw that it was more healthy for me to say, no, I forgive you, you're cool, but no. You know what I mean? And so that was it for me. So let's get back to trauma. I know I go to the left and to the right.
Okay.
I like my little bunny trails. But yeah, so I'm going to let you take over because, you know, I'm like, Nikki, I could just talk. We be talking, girl. Okay.
No segue or anything. Well, I actually
Oh,
was gonna-
sorry, no segue.
What I actually was going to say to what you said, I say frequently to people that you have to teach people how to treat you. Everybody has different interactions, and even within the same culture, there are subcultures within a culture. So we could be
Now break that down,
We could be
honey.
the same race,
Okay.
but what I do on Thanksgiving could be totally different than what you do. Or like some examples, small examples. You know, some people like to shower the night before. Some people are like, never. I have to shower every morning when I get up, right? That we could be the same race, but our household could be it's different, the way we grew up, right? So that's when I say subcultures within a culture. So I think that it's important because you may say, oh, well, we're from the same neck of the woods. We grew up in the same town, same area, same race or whatever. But it doesn't mean that I know how to treat you because I may have had a totally different upbringing or even values, right? And so I may think that this is the way I'm supposed to treat you based off of what I've learned. And then you're like, no, that you're mishandling me. And so for me, I will say it actually, it became quite traumatic for me because just of the soundtrack of my life wasn't a healthy one early on. And it was just, I think, just an accumulation of just interaction with people and me thinking that people just always wanted something from me. They were around me because they wanted to benefit in some way. But then being able to say, okay, well, I can't just cut everybody off, right? So I'm like, okay, looking within, doing that self-reflection, self-evaluation, and I'm like, probably need to just start showing people or verbally expressing it, right? Like, this is how I want to be handled. This is how, if we're gonna be, interacting this way, and it doesn't always have to be a romantic relationship. I definitely have to do that in a romantic relationship, but just in friendships as well. An example of a friendship one is I had, we were pretty close. And I noticed that it was always like a competition thing. And even down to like, she got engaged and I got engaged. And I think it was around the same time, maybe a couple of days apart. But they didn't talk it over. Hey, let's propose. It wasn't even like that. We weren't that close, right? And it was a competition about the size of the ring. And I know, let's be real. I know some women get into that. So I'm not shaming if you do. That's not my thing. Right? But I'm saying, for me, that was mishandling me. As my friend, we're not going to compete and say, oh, my ring is bigger than yours. Now, do you think it? You probably do. Let's be honest, right? But are you going to say it and compete? No. And then my thing is, if my ring is bigger and you're jealous, let's be honest, or you're envious, when your anniversary time comes around, tell your husband, I want a ring this size. If he can swing it, okay. If not, you have to be content with where you are. So I honestly had to be honest, and I told her, I said, hey, if we're gonna be friends, we cannot do this because I'm gonna be told. We being transparent, right? I kind of was like, oh, we gonna compete? Oh, that's what we doing? I got you. And I got right on in with the competition until I'm like, this is not me. So I had to let her know if we are gonna be friends. If you value my friendship and if I value yours, like that's toxic. I'm like, we have to be able to we can't compete with each other. And I think it went well for a while after that. Now we're just associates, but we were able to get past that. I think sometimes just in life you have to decide, okay, this is my inner circle, this is my outer circle. And that's just kind of how, it was, I guess it shook out or whatever. But I think that's one way I learned that I had to teach people how to treat me. And then I will say in a romantic relationship, I definitely had to, I think it's a combination, again, of things that I saw, that I learned, things that I was like, okay, that I may have observed, and like, yeah, no, I don't want that component in my relationship. Mm-hmm. And just had to be honest and say, if we're going to get to know each other, if we're, this is what I consider, how you should, this, to be valuable. This is how I feel valued, and this is how I want you to treat me. Yeah. And then I think to not make it all about you, you definitely, in any relationship, you want to know how that person wants to be handled as well. Mm-hmm. So you ask that question as well. So how would you like for me to treat you? Teach me how to treat you. And I think that's huge. It's important in any relationship, honestly.
Yeah. Well, let's get to friendships, because you kind of got on that a little bit anyways. When is it a time, you're probably going to laugh at me, when your friend is trying to teach you how to treat them, and you're just like, girl, I can't do all that. This friendship ain't going to work, honey. I'm just being honest. Have you ever been in that situation where they're teaching you how to treat them as a friend? And okay, I say that because, y'all laughing, but it's so true. I say that because, I had a particular friend where it got so much where I feel like, okay, like you're my husband. And it got to the point where my husband was like, oh my gosh, she's treating you like she your man. You know what I mean? It got like too much to the point where I was torn because, you want to save your friendships, right? You want to keep your friendships. But it kind of got overwhelming where when she's trying to teach me how to treat her, it's like, when is it okay to say, I'm not capable of that. I can't take that place in your life as your friend. You know what I mean? Does that make sense, ladies? You get where I'm coming from? Like, they're trying to teach you how to treat them, but when is it okay to say, like, no, like, this friendship probably just not going to work because that's just too much that I'm willing to give. And it's not that it's wrong. For me, it's wrong. You get what I'm saying? You might meet another female that's like, or another woman that's like, this is cool, this is how I get down. But for me, I'm like, that's too much for me in my life. Anybody ever felt that way? Yep. She laughing. So, she know me personally, so she trying to.
So, right, I'll give the clinician's answer. Okay.
No, don't give the clinician's answer.
I'll give the clinician's answer.
Give the Ty Creighton answer without the licenses.
I can't do that. Okay.
You can't do that? We want the real, right, ladies? We want the real. Come on.
So okay. No, okay. So, no, this is what I will say.
Okay.
If you determine that you cannot meet that need, you do need to be honest and let them know that. But if you find that in every relationship, they're teaching you how to treat them and you can't ever meet the need, the issue is you, and you need to do the self-reflection.
Wait, hold on. Are you trying to say the issue is me?
I said, did you want me or did you want me?
Look, she's trying to say I'm the issue, y'all. Y'all hear what she...
Is it you?
Y'all hear what she's saying, right? You hear what she said. She don't say this, I'm the problem.
That's not what I said.
That's what she said. That's what I heard.
So, yes, I do think...
No, that makes sense, though, yeah.
For real.
Like, if you can't keep any friendships, that's a problem.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Mm-hmm. But, go ahead.
No.
Oh. Yeah, no, that's really good. And I think it is true. You do have to be willing, though, to compromise. And I don't mean in a way that's hurtful to you, but I do mean that there are some things, like I'm not a phone person. Let me just be honest. I'm not a phone person. So there are some of my friends that want to talk. They're like, you don't call me, like you don't talk. And I realize, like, I don't have the time to talk every day, but I can make more of an effort, right? To call in or to check and say, hey, how you been? I know it's been a little while. What you got going on? How you been? How's the family going? So I do think, and I've learned that about me because I could not talk to anybody for so long just because my life's really busy. But I realized, like, sometimes your friends want to hear from you. They want to make sure, they want to feel like you care. They want you to check on them. They want you to say, hey, how's your kid? How's this been going? Whatever. How's your husband or how's your job? Whatever it might be. And so I had to learn that because sometimes I could get so consumed with it just being busy all the time that I'm like, when I'm not doing work or I'm not doing an event, I want to rest, right? I don't want to talk to a human, But I had to, somebody said, oh, yes. Who said, oh, yes?
Get us some amen. You got a hand? Oh,
that was you. So you understand. So it wasn't me wanting to be insensitive. It was just me, I guess you could say people fatigue. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, but still, as a friend, you got to look past yourself as a friend. Is there a question in the back?
It's not a question, it's a statement.
There you go. Come on.
A real friend is not overbearing.
Yes.
They know when to back off. A real friend. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. Thank you. I love that. I think that's so good because if I could be honest, when I got married, I lost some friends because life changed, right? Everything changed. I quit my job. I moved to another state. Everything changed. Left the church I was at. So everything in my life changed. All my associations changed. But I'm really grateful for those a few, because it's just a few friends that still stuck it out with me. They kind of understood that, okay, she just got married, she just quit her job, she just moved to a new state, she just went to a new church. Her life has been turned upside down. For the better, but it's still been turned upside down, right? And so I'm grateful for those friends that they gave me my space. They gave me that time to like work everything out, to grow, to learn. And then when I call them, it's like we didn't skip a beat. It's like, hey girl, what's up? You want to hang out? Like, let's do something. And I love that, because that's how I am with my friends. Like, I try to be understanding, and I don't want to be overbearing, like she was saying, to the point that if something happens or I don't hear from you in a while, I'm going to call you and check on you, but I'm not mad at you. Like, it's okay. You're probably going through something, so let me check on you. Or you're busy, let me check on you. But I have had a problem in the past with those who are upset when you're going through something or you're busy, and they're like, girl, it's like, man, you my friend. You should be checking on me, making sure I'm okay, because sometimes people go through things, and I think we should try to be sensitive to it. And I think sometimes that's where I go wrong. Sometimes I want people to treat me how I treat them, but they're not me.
Right.
And that's a big lesson that I'm learning. Like, we're different. I'm real laid back as a friend. Like, I give you your space. Let's have fun, girly time. Let's pray, whatever. But if you need a year off from me, I ain't mad at you. I love you. I'm going to check on you. But you doing you, boo. I love you. When you want to hang out next? Because I understand people, they're living life, right? They have stuff going on. They have children, relationships, jobs, careers, husbands, boyfriends, whatever. So I'm really understanding. But I realize most of my friends aren't like me. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think even now, I'm learning and growing in that area to say, that's okay. Just try to work it out. Be compromising and try to be accommodating as much as you can. I'm not saying change your whole life for a person. But as much as you can, if you love that person and they're your friend, try to be accommodating. I think I only really lost one friend for real after, like somebody I was really close to, after marriage. But in all honesty, I just had to say, because I always, like I was telling you guys, would feel guilty. I just always had to say, this time, no. Nope, this time, no. And I still sometimes will feel bad about it, because I'm like, in my mind, I don't think, unless somebody did something really horrendous, I never think there's a real reason that two women can't, like, make up. You know what I mean? That's just my heart. That's just how I am. But I really got tired of always being the one making up. And then when I shared my heart, it was not reciprocated. And I talk about it all the time, so it has bothered me, because I feel like that's the only example that I've had. Because I just guess for me, I can't understand. I just don't think there's any reason why you can't work it out. You know what I mean? But when it gets to the point of you groveling, that's enough. I'm sorry. Like I said, you're not my husband. You know what I mean? So it gets to the point where, like you said, you teach people how to treat you, and now you guys are saying setting boundaries. And I think, man, setting boundaries is self-care and self-love. It is.
And two more things I would add to that. It's actually along the lines of what you were saying. Don't expect you from other people. So I can't expect Ty from other people, because I'm Ty. So I can't expect everybody to be, like Ty.
Yeah.
And then also, you want to make sure that there is reciprocity in your friendship account. Or honestly, in really just any relationship. But lately, it's been a lot of people that I've been working with professionally, and then just personally, people, having questions about relationships and friendships. And I say you really have to do, like take inventory, right? And see if you are able to deposit and withdraw from that relationship. It really should be that way. I said that, like, if you have a person that every time you get together, like the majority of the time you've known them, it's always you pouring into them, and you rarely benefit. And I'm not saying you be in it to get something, but it definitely should be reciprocated. Mm-hmm. If you're not getting that, then you may want to evaluate the friendship, the relationship, because then maybe that's more of ministry. Or if you're like, well, ministry ain't my thing, then that might be a mentor or mentee relationship. Mm-hmm. Because with friendships, and even in romantic relationships, it's give and take, give and take, give and take. Now, definitely within the seasons, right? Because there are some seasons where you're like, I don't have it in me, but I love you and you my girl. And then your girl like, oh, you my homegirl, I got you. So we're gonna go through this, weather this storm together. But then throughout that whole relationship, if you can't think of a time where the situation was flipped, then it is something that you need to really think about.
No, I think that's amazing because you actually taught me that. She's actually taught me that because with, I throw a lot of empowering events and in women empowerment and things like that, I meet a lot of people from a mentee, mentor perspective. And when I used to have my Single and Satisfied ministry, those were a lot of the friends that I was meeting through that, right? And nothing is wrong with that. Some of them became really close, but she helped me to understand that most of your friendships was you always pouring into them. So it was more like you were mentoring them, not necessarily on a same level friendship. And I didn't get that at first. At first I'm like, no, we hang out or we go, we do all this, we do all that. And I'm like, that's so true because it started off that way and that's how it is. So when they can't fill you up, I shouldn't say fill you up because nobody can fill you completely up. Right. God can do that. But I mean, when they can't pour into you at all, why am I shocked? Our relationship, our friendship, it wasn't that. It never was that. And so why am I now expecting that? And I had to get over that. And I think that's a great point. And not be bitter about it because we're here to empower and pour love and to help. But you just got to categorize people where they belong. I feel like you got to know what's what. You got to know this my girl, my rider. My rider live, Nikki. This my rider live, not my rider die. We gonna live. We ain't gonna die, right? This is my rider live. This is my girl that, if we just want to hang at the movies, but I can't tell her nothing too deep because she ain't on that level. You know what I'm saying? You have your, as we say, you have your outer courts, your inner courts, and the holy of holies, okay? All right? So it's them holy of holies. That's about only 2 people in my holy, but you know what I'm saying? It's not a lot of people, and that's your closest people that your deepest, darkest, I don't want to say dark, but your deepest secrets, you can trust them with anything, right? Then your outer courts, inner courts, you can tell them the more you hang with them, you're close to them, and then the other ones is your associates. You love them, you like them, but y'all not like that. You're not sharing your business with them. You're not expecting them to, really have your back. And so I just think that is important. How we get on friendships, y'all?
Relationships as a whole you're talking about.
Thank you. Somebody tell me. I'm like, we supposed to be talking about trauma. We talking about friendships, relationships, teaching people how to treat you. All right, so if we don't have any questions, we'll move on. Kristen, do we have any questions? I don't think we do, but you can check for us in the question box. While she's doing that, would anybody like to add a statement or a question or anything? Yes.
Since we're just talking about just continuing on the trauma partner thing, so I think that for me, realizing, and I didn't share this when I first went up there, part of my enough was I had to tell myself, I know who I am, I know whose I am, and I know exactly how I want to be loved.
Yeah.
And I had to keep on telling myself that in the mirror. I had to keep writing that on my journals and just reminding myself of that so that way I wouldn't get sucked back into that whole cycle that I was going through this past year.
Oh, that's great. I love that. Yeah, give her a hand, guys. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Because it takes a lot to share and be vulnerable. Thank you so much for that. So if there be no questions, okay, awesome. If there be no questions, we're going to move on. Thank you, ladies, for chatting with us. We appreciate you guys. Give yourselves a hand. Whoop, whoop.